Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to be covering Dragon's Dogma. It was originally released back in January 2012, but this version I'm doing the video off is actually Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which is the version that's just released here in April. Now I'm only going to be looking at the original game's content. The DLC stuff I'll be doing a separate video off and posting separately completely. When I get to it at least. I'm just playing it through it again for the second time now. Now, one thing that needs to get explained straight off the bat is the content that is included with Dark Arisen. Basically, it's a DLC, or what should be DLC. It's another landmass, more areas, another quest line, so many different monster types, this, that and the other. Basically, it's just a typical add-on. And if you bought the original game like I did, you'll never, ever, ever be able to see it unless you buy the updated game. Because I've done some research on this, and apparently it's because the original game didn't have the code in there to actually accept add-ons, so they had to rewrite part of it. Now I don't know if this is true or not, because if it's any other company I might be a bit more inclined to believe it, but the fact is Capcom saying this, who released Street Fighter 4 every bleeding year and never released content as a DLC, I'm a bit skeptical. But although it sounds really negative and off-putting, please still buy the game because it's still brilliant. It's just a shame it's shackled to Capcom. The only way around it really is do what I did: trade your copy in, the original copy, to Amazon and buy the new one. It sounds stupid, but it ends up working out. You pretty much spend as much as you would on DLC by doing that. You don't feel like you lose out. It's a pain, yeah, but it works. And there's actually, you do get a benefit for having an original save game on your system. There's like so many rift crystals and unlimited port crystals. Anyway, I'll actually get to covering the game now. Now, the first thing you'll see with this game is it handles very much like Dark Souls. And I love that. Personally, Dark Souls is one of my favourite games ever. Luckily, this isn't as difficult. It is hard in parts, so if you're a casual gamer, really, you will find parts of this game really quite hard. But it makes it a little easier in the fact that with you can have 3 NPC computer controlled characters with you at all times. Basically one of those is what's called as your main pawn. I know, the wrong type of pawn, but that's what they're called. You have complete control over this one, your main pawn, which is like a main character, which will stick with you throughout the entire game. And the 2 other ones in the party, basically they are other people's main pawns, which you can go off into like some ethereal looking otherworldly thing. Have a nosy round, have a look around at other people's pawns, see what you like. It's like if you want a warrior, mage, archer, and also you can even go in depth, see the gamer tag tied to it, see what skills they're giving them and all that and the other. If you like it, recruit them. When you pop out of that section, they'll then be with you in the world. And there's also people can do that with your pawn as well. It sounds mental, but the system is absolutely amazing, and it's actually really got a good idea behind it as well. If people rent out your pawn, when your pawn finally returns off their journey, like they kick them off sort of thing, they'll come back and you can actually rate the looks and how combat worthiness that the others were. You can even give them gifts, but to be honest, most people just give you a rock or a mouldy carrot or something. But what is important is they'll come back with knowledge, basically, of quests or how to kill certain enemies. Like before, I was fighting some skeletons. I mean, I know, I've played this game, so I know anyway. But my main pawn, because she's already seen it before, was telling me to use fire on them and start casting fire magic on them. And I thought it was really clever. She wouldn't have known that unless she'd been with someone else's party and experienced that and then learnt it. So it's really give and take. It's a really clever system. I really enjoy that. Now, one thing this game does that no other RPG I've seen does so far is first, like, the sheer size of some of the enemies in the game. They're absolutely fantastic. Like the dragon at the very beginning of the game, it's like the size of a bleeding mountain. I mean, usually when you get an impressive looking boss or monster in a game, usually just stand at range, shoot, it dies. It's like a bit of a anticlimax, really. This game handles them differently. Rather than wailing away, chopping the frigging toenails off, you can actually run up to them, climb up the legs, climb up the scales of the back and everything, and start hacking away at the wings. and stuff like that. It's really interactive, and I loved it. It's absolutely brilliant. It can throw you off, it go flying and everything. It feels like a really hectic fight, and your pawns will climb up and everything. Sometimes you can't really keep track of what's going on just because it's that hectic, and it feels like a proper fight, and I love that. I mean, the actual game is pretty big. There are actually quite some expansive land masses, really. The actual map looks pretty crap, to be honest. I won't show you in it because it just looks really unimpressive, but it's actually big, and some of the land masses are actually really quite pretty, like I said. One thing I do need to say, though, the game probably feels a bit bigger than it actually is, purely because there's no fast travel system. I mean, okay, there is kind of a system, but it's not as you'd imagine. Basically, you'll get... I can't remember the exact terming of it. You'll get this crystal, basically, of which you can place down in one spot. You'll only get one of them. And then, when you bugger off on an adventure, usually I put the crystal in the main city, just because it's just easier. Bugger off adventuring. If you want to then go back to the town, you'll have these extra consumable... I can't remember they're called spheres or something like that, but they're quite rare, basically. You get that, use that, you'll then port back to where you placed your crystal, and that is it. You'll only be able to port back to one place with these crystals that you find, which, as I said, are rare, and so you really only should use them when you have to. I mean, it sounds really annoying. Okay, in parts of it is, but it adds to that more of a hardcore feel, kind of like along the vein of Dark Souls. And also there's a day and night cycle in the game as well, and if you're on a long trek, it's weird, really. Nighttime actually matters in this game because it gets a lot more difficult at night time. You seem to get more enemies. They jump out of bushes, ambush you, and everything. It's really clever. And sometimes at night you can't see a bloody thing. You're just going around with a crappy little lantern strapped to your leg. No health left. You can't port back. Just hoping to God you make it. And it's just stuff like that. It's brilliant. Now another thing to cover is the vocations. Or classes, basically. You and your pawn can choose at the beginning your class, say like warrior, mage, or whatever. You'll then get specific levels as well as your character level for these classes, and then get skills depending on what level you are. And at any point in the game, you can then go back and change your class to something else. Like currently I'm a warrior. If I want to go back and change to being a mage, I can do. The highlight of this is certain skills will actually transfer over. Not all of them, but some will. Like basically, if you're a warrior, you can have these like core skills where it's like you'll get more HP and this, that, and the other. So get that, grab that, then go back to being a mage, and you'll be a bit stronger and be able to take a bit more damage. And it's brilliant, really. And it does actually lend to the point. It gives you more of a reason to actually try different mix and match new abilities and everything. And actually, with your 4-player party, try and find the best mix you can, really. Rather than just say from the beginning, right, you're a mage, you're going to stay as a mage for the whole 40-50 hours of this game. No, that doesn't happen. I'm always swapping and always finding different new little things. Personal favourite for me, Mystic Warrior, or Mystic Knight, I can't remember what it's called exactly. Basically, a warrior, plate, sword, shield, and you can cast magic. Honestly, what else do you need? But all I can say, really, it's just really worth getting this game. Some parts you can have fun. It's just you can get dungeon crawling bits. You do get outside areas. The main plot line does pick up later on. It's at the beginning. There's not really much to it. It starts off well and just drops off, and it feels more like an MMO where you do more side quests and missions really than anything else, and it just plods along the main mission. But it starts ramping up towards like the middle or later half of the game, and it just gets brilliant later on, and it actually ends up being way more in depth than you think it's going to be. I won't say anything just because, well, to be honest, I don't think it makes sense anyway. So, but there is actually a plot there, so it's not just like a crappy right, go and slash things and that's it. It just takes a bit to get going. But yeah, all I can suggest really, definitely pick it up if you like RPGs, and especially if you enjoy Dark Souls. Even if you couldn't really bear Dark Souls, this one is a lot easier to pick up, purely because you've got 3 other people with you. And it's just good fun. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, I'll see you next time.